So let's look at some of the worst failures. In non-software category, I'm going to walk through Titanic and Challenger. So let's look at Titanic. So what was Titanic? RMS Titanic was the largest ship afloat at the time of her maiden voyage. She was the second of the 3 Olympic class liners at that time. On her maiden voyage, she carried 2,224 passengers and crew. It was said to be unsinkable. So what happened? It sank. It sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on 15th April 1912 after colliding with an iceberg during her maiden voyage from Southampton, UK to New York City, US. The sinking of Titanic caused the deaths of 1,502 people in one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in modern history. So here's a link. You can go through this link. There is a nice animation which shows what happened. So why did it sink? There were obviously human reasons and there were technical reasons. So what are human reasons? These are the errors committed by humans and the actions basically that they do which results in these errors. And sometimes non-action itself is an error actually. And these humans are driven by some context. So in this case, the captain had some context which was driving him. The manufacturer of the ship had some context. The owner of the ship had some context. For the manufacturer, it was the speed of delivery, how quickly he can make this ship and set it sailing. For the owner, it was how quickly he can generate return on his investment. For the captain, it was again how successfully he can impress the people who have put him on this job. And of course, these human beings, to conduct these things, various actions, they need skills. So for example, the engineers needs designing skills and the other engineering skills. The captain needs management skills and so on. If we look at specifically the technical reasons, there are 2 broad categories: the design flaws and the material flaws. So was there something wrong with the design of the Titanic? Well, yes, there is a theory that the way the bulkheads were designed, when it grazed against the iceberg, right, they got compromised and water started to fill in the front bulkheads, and as a result the nose of the ship dived inside the sea, and then it kept on diving and it resulted in breaking up the ship in the middle, and as a result the whole ship sank down, and there was no way it could have been prevented. There are many other design learnings from this, and there is a detailed case analysis that is available towards in the additional item section, so you can have a look at it if you are further interested. Related to material, various kind of materials are used in shipbuilding. So for example, for making the sides, the rivets that are used to fix the ship, and many other. So was that material tested enough and found that it is good enough for the kind of condition it is going to sail in? We don't know. So one of the theory goes the rivets which were there of poor quality. So as a result, they became very brittle in the cold water of the Atlantic, and the impact, made the rivets come out. So that there are different kind of theories that are going on. And if you look at some of the other aspects like communication, ship management, right? So related to communication, there is this theory that the information of iceberg was with the captain, but he was so busy entertaining the VIPs that he almost forgot, and it was too late by the time he basically sent the orders. Related to ship management, there were not sufficient lifeboats as the number of people traveling on that ship. Rules and inspections, were the checklist to see past the ship before sailing, were they comprehensive enough? It looks like they were not enough. That's why these things got missed. So there could be these kind of reasons as well. And here are some of the links which you can refer to, right, and find more details about it. And as I said, detail section is towards the end, which I have covered. So for those who are interested, they can refer to the section at the end. All right, so what is the key takeaway? So the key takeaway is, did people have right context as the driver or blinded by some other context? So that's something we need to think. Was safety of people traveling, a major driving context? Was security of the asset a major driving context? Was maintenance impact of the high speed was something of concern? Was emergency response management, there was something in the context that was driving this? Versus, let us say the context was create a sensation, let's make this ship as fast as we can, let's make money faster at any cost. So what are the drivers for behind sailing this ship? So what was missing? Now one of the things that always comes to my mind is, was it tested enough? Did the people have the context to test it before they sailed this ship out with passengers? So that's one of the key takeaways from this, that what was the context driving them and was it tested enough? Let's look at the next example, Challenger. So what was Challenger? So Challenger, of course, is a space shuttle. Its maiden flight started on April 4, 1983. It launched and landed 9 times, and it did many firsts like spacewalk, setting the American women in space, etc. So what happened? In its 10th flight on January 20th, 1986, it broke apart just after 73 seconds of its liftoff. And why did it break? Of course, again, there were human reasons, there were technical reasons. Related to technical reasons, there is something called as O-ring seal, where basically if you look in this figure, so this seal basically seals this part with this part and prevents the gases from coming out. Now there was a failure of this ring. As a result of that, it caused a breach in the SRB joint it sealed, and the pressurized hot gases from within the solid rocket motor reached the outside. And then the resulting failure that happened, it resulted in the complete disintegration of the entire vehicle, right? Now the extensive study that was done after the failure, it concluded that the failure of the O-rings was attributed to a faulty design whose performance could too easily be compromised by factors including low temperature on the day of the launch. So they definitely concluded that it was a faulty design, right, of these O-rings, right, which resulted on this kind of a failure. Of course, there must have been some human reasons also for this failure. So I'm not going to cover all the reasons, but maybe a couple of them could have been like, one of the thing that has been observed is that there has been a delay in the launch of this shuttle, right, and it was rescheduled a couple of times. So as a result of that, there was a pressure to launch it, and hence, even though there were perceived risks and there was lack of test data, the decision was taken, okay, let's go ahead with it. You can find again a detailed session in the additional items section, and here are some links which you can refer to for more details. So what is the key takeaway from this disaster? Again, did the people have the right context as the driver or blinded by some other context? So that's something we need to think. So safety of the people traveling, security of asset, emergency response management versus achieve the milestone even at the cost of risk, and maybe some other context which we are not aware of. So again, what was missing? Was it tested enough? And did the people have the context to do that kind of a testing? So that is something, again, which comes to my mind, and that is a key takeaway I would like to share with you. Now there are many more examples like the car parts malfunctioning leading to recalls, medical devices failing, dams bursting, flooding, radiation leakages, chemical leakages, and so on.